What's up, guys? NanMan here, and we're back with some commentary. It has been a while since we've had Modern Magic Mondays up on the channel with kind of like the weekly matches, but with 2024, we decided we'd start to bring back some gameplay footage here, and this one's a special one because this one is two players playing Yawgmoth versus Tron that do not play Modern. They're Commander players. They've played Arena, they've drafted cubes before, but they have not played Modern. So, I wanted this to be a teachable unit. Like one of the players, the player playing Tron, has played Tron before, but he's not like a tournament grinder or anything. He hasn't played Tron since like 2018, 2019 in that era, pre-Modern Master or Modern Horizons, pre Lord of the Rings set. So like this is going to be very interesting to see how things go. Our Yawgmoth player is very new to the deck, so we're going to go through. We'll talk a little bit about it, and your goal as a viewer is to be able to let me know all the mistakes you see. All right, because we're sitting here, we're going through, and we're going to be pointing out some stuff, see mistakes, and we're using this series that we're starting up because they're just like game one from the match. We're not doing a full best of three. As of right now for this, it's basically just teachable moments. Let's learn together. Let's teach these new players and people that might be new to the decks how to play the deck. So if you see a mistake, leave a comment. Let me know what it is. But already we got to see, our Tron player had Expedition map pop into natural Tron. So if you're not as familiar with how Tron works, you need 3 different Urz's land, the tower, the mine, and the power plant, and you will be able to get up to 7 mana. So he was able to search that up on his turn 2, and he will be able to play that and have on curve Tron on turn 3. Our Yawgmoth player started out with a Young Wolf. He's kind of fetching up, setting up, developing his board. No mana dorks to start things off. There are Ignoble Hierarchs. There are our Delighted Halfling and Wall of Roots are like the 3 mana dork style creatures that are in there to help you ramp. Hapatra is coming out here. So Hapatra can help out with the kind of comboiness of the deck. When you're putting -1 counters on things, then you're going to make a snake, giving you fuel to be able to sacrifice for other stuff. So Hapatra is kind of a little bit of a red flag for the Tron players, seeing that as like, okay, you could be setting things up for things to get bad for me soon. So I need to be aware of that. A lot of times it's hard to sit here and judge based off of the plays players are making as of right now, because I know some people go, well, they shouldn't be playing Hapatra as early as they are. We don't know necessarily what's in their hand, but you might be right in that regard of, maybe you want to hold Hapatra for longer, but knowing that, we've got Tron coming online here, getting some threats out might be more important than not. So things that you can be worried about, right, is, of course, that would be one of it. Karn the Great creator here. So it basically, the Tron of nowadays is a toolbox Tron deck related to artifacts, especially for the sideboards when you have Karn here. So he's going to be able to go through, look for specific tools that he's got in his sideboard. Now, I will have both these lists that these players are playing up on the description there. They're up on my Mox field, so you guys can be able to look through exactly what these players are playing and utilizing. That is going to be one of the things going forward. All the decks that we're going to be showing might be slightly different than some of the meta stuff, with like 1 or 2 cards differences or adjustments to how things are going. These are not my main decks that I play in Modern. I do have a lot of decks in Modern. My main decks, of course, Infect, Grixis Death Shadow. So, I like to have other decks to test against. So sideboards for most of them are probably sitting around, 10 to 13 cards. So there are some differences and some cards missing for the sideboards. And all right, so this is a good pick here against the Yawgmoth player because, you're being able to strip away some annoying cards. And really there's 2 main things that you're fighting against the Yawgmoth player and you're trying to get rid of cards. You've got to be kind of keeping in mind when you're playing it. Of course, Yawgmoth, the namesake of the deck, is one of those top cards to be able to get rid of because that's like your main little combo-y aspect to the deck. In addition to that, Agatha's Soul Cauldron. So my list is running only 2 of, compared to a lot of lists that are running 3. Just slight variations again in mine. I was running more Eldritch Evolutions and have since changed it. I'm currently running a Sheldred main board. Like, so there's slight tweaks to what it is, but we'll see how things are going. He doesn't have the mana to be able to pop, of course, the Brain this turn, but does have it so he can pop it next turn. All right, so here's our first little hiccup here. So, we go through it and talk through it and explain, okay, Eldritch Evolution, phenomenal cards. You're going to be sacrificing one of your creatures and going to go find something that costs 2 plus the sack creature's converted mana cost. So in this case, if he sacks a 2 cost, he gets to go find a 4 cost. If he sacrifices a 1 cost, he gets to go find a 3 cost. But him sacrificing and stuff, he should be doing this after combat, and we eventually go through and we reverse it. Yeah, here's like what we talk. Like, you could see me pointing through and just kind of explaining to him, hey, awesome that you're doing the Eldritch Evolution, that's great, but just do it for main phase 2. You see he's tapped out, he can't respond to you. You want to get Karn off the board because it messes up your Agatha's Soul Cauldron, it messes up kind of keeping it alive, will allow him to be able to start tutoring up more things. So you want to make sure to do it. And you can kind of hear in the background some of the players talking. I've kept their audio in here just a little bit lower. If you guys like to hear what the players are saying and the discussion, we can be able to turn it up for future videos, but I've kind of kept it kind of lower in the background for this one here. But the tutor up choice is Yawgmoth, so if he gets another young wolf, he will be able to start doing stuff. So we're already seeing the white dice are going to be indicating -1 counters, while the black dice will be indicating the +1 power here. So +1/+1 counters, -1/-1. So he ends up being able to draw a card, sacrificing Young Wolf immediately, so he could be able to do this. Now, of course, you need 2 creatures to really start manipulating the Undying effect of Young Wolf. I am still running at least 1 Strangleroot Geist in mine. I know a lot of lists aren't. But all right, so here we go. We got Tron +2 here. So first things first, we're going to see our Tron player be able to pop it, strip away, and I think that was also the Eldritch Evolution play into Yawgmoth is the safe bet, because Brain here gets rid of from the deck, it gets rid of from the player's hand and exiles them. So you can see, like, the Tron player's got his hand out. It was like, hey, I'll go look for it. And this is something for newer players, right? Or, if you have searchable effects. So he did pick Agatha's Soul Cauldron here. All right, so if you have searchable effects, let's say search through player's library and hand and stuff like that, he's getting to see the hand now, so you can know exactly what's in it. But I always recommend players look through your opponent's library if you can, especially post-board. He had all the Yawgmoths. We're going to see it in a second here. But, yeah, look at this. Double Yawg, Gris, Young Wolf, and Beseiju, which is nice. So he's got some tools to kind of help him here. But if you could search through your opponent's library, do it. Get some information, know exactly what they're doing, how things are working in their deck. Maybe you'll be able to see specific numbers, what sort of outs that you might be able to notice, right? Just the slight differences of 1v1 mode versus commander mode, right? Where you're playing a big team game, or big free-for-alls and stuff, where 1v1s are a little bit different. All right, so 1 ring's coming out. Tron player does get protection. We're also going to see a pop the map. Get another tower here, which is, we're ramping up. Our goal is to sit here and ramp up and get as much mana to start utilizing some big, scary stuff. The thing about Tron is it might be weak earlier in the game, but as the game progresses and you have your mana, the more likely that you're going to draw into bombs, scary stuff, Ulamogs, things like that. Ugins, right? Those are going to be hard to deal with. I am running some of the original Karn in my list too, because it's just Tron. Why would I want to get rid of it altogether? All right, so now we have both young wolves here. Our Yawgmoth player can start manipulating. So here's another mistake, if you guys are catching it. He's as part of the whole thing with Yawgmoth, right? It's listed as pay a life, sack another creature, and put a -1 counter on up to 1 target creature and draw a card. So he's sacrificing his young wolf with a counter. Really, you're supposed to be sacrificing the other young wolf, all right, that has no counters. It'll come back with the Undying. You put a -1 counter on the one that already has a +1 counter on it, and you draw a card. So really, it's going to be just moving that +1 counter from one Yawgmoth to the other. So we're seeing Beseiju activated here. He's basically trying to strip away a specific land, right? If I run different art for all of my Tron lands because I love running different art of my cards as much as possible because there's so many cool arts out there. So why would I not want to look at all the different arts or show them off? And like me playing the decks, I know what to look for. Players that don't play the decks aren't as noticeable. So we will see Beseiju, of course, allows you to be able to go and find a basic land, put that onto the battlefield. So that's nice. You know, he will be able to at least get a forest here, so he's not completely out of it. And yeah, we see a little adjustments to the way that the players are tapping because, of course, Beseiju does cost 1 less for the channel ability if you control legendary creature, right? So there, Yawgmoth fits that. So for those players that know the Tron lands, pay attention to which lands are still on the battlefield because there is a mistake here. So we'll get into it, and it will get fixed. Don't worry, but we'll talk about it. We'll see if anybody notices here. But yeah, the One Ring is really powerful. Gets the Tron player some card advantage here. It bought him a turn of protection. Like it's definitely the best deck to utilize the One Ring in Modern. And so now here I'm explaining, hey, you're going to be manipulating the counters, sacrificing this, moving it here, move, boom, 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 boom. That's how the Yawgmoth works when you have this. You can do this a bunch of times, right, in response to stuff. You can sit here and start to manipulate your board and draw a bunch of cards, right? Your goal is to try to hit certain things. You know, I have adjusted my list a little bit. At this point, I only had 1 Blood Artist in there. I'm since then running 1 Blood Artist and 1 Zulaport Cutthroat because I like that drain effect. Now, this is a really big brain play the line that I wouldn't have noticed available or something for the Yawgmoth player to be worried about, but he had to place a -1 counter on Yawgmoth earlier because he wanted to draw a card, right? And so it makes it really tough now because he can go, oh, Distortion Strike, guess what? Or I'm sorry, Warping Whale, not Distortion Strike. Warping Whale, I'm going to exile target creature with power or toughness, 1 or less. And because Yawgmoth has a -1 counter on him, he is going to be having only 1 toughness. Because normally, right, he's a 2/4. So now he becomes a 1/3 with that -1 counter. But so this is like the response. Okay, now I'm going to dig and try to draw into something. We know there are more Yawgmoths in hand, so him losing this Yawgmoth isn't as big a deal unless there was like a second Karn into like a second Brain or something like that. You know, we don't know necessarily what we can expect here. But really, it's like the Tron player goes, I've gotten rid of Agatha's Cauldron. I need to worry more about what's on the board here. You know, he's very close to being able to combo off of this. But the thing about the Yawgmoth deck nowadays, it's a black-green mid-rangey deck with a combo built into it. Otherwise, it's just like, here's powerful black cards, here's powerful green cards. Let's just kind of grind it out and play this grindy game. All right, let's see. What is coming up next? Chromatic Star. Be able to kind of filter, get some green mana, draw a card, all that kind of fun stuff. So he will pop that. Oh, sorry, that was... Just kidding. He's not popping it yet. He's putting his Warping Whale into the graveyard where it belongs. All right, adjusting how they tap their manas, and you know, again, because it's both players are learning, we're figuring. Oh, hey, okay. Here's how we're fixing things. We went through and we go, oh, you have Tron, but you're not supposed to have Tron. He had, yeah, right. He's like, I'm an idiot. I had all the, but he wasn't supposed to, right? When both players were discussing, hey, which lands do you have? Which ones do you have 2 of? Which ones do you have 1 of? Like, they knew that the Tron player had 2 towers available. They knew he had 2 power plants and 1 mine. So it was like, I should have picked this. This is what I originally was picking, the one to get you off of Tron, right? So we just did a little reversal, you know, run it back, play, because again, these are new players learning these decks, so these types of mistakes happen. But if you guys caught it, I want to see those comments about the Beseiju mistriggers and picking the wrong land to get rid of. So now we're going to go in and see what is our Yawgmoth's response. Right now, there's not like anything scary at this point in time for our Tron player. Like, he's setting stuff up to kind of get into something, but nothing is like that crazy right now. All right, so we're going to see Wall of Roots into Quarter Calling. Great thing about Wall of Roots, and something that is interesting with Quarter Calling for newer players that might not know, is you get to basically put 2 mana into Quarter Calling for Wall of Roots. The way that works is you get to, of course, put a -0/-1 counter on Wall of Roots, generate a green mana, and then you can also tap it for its convoke cost to generate another green mana off of there. So it's like you get double value off of Wall of Roots for Court of Calling. So we're going to see there's the tutor up for Blood Artist. We're kind of getting stuff set up here. Blood Artist, again, if you have a Yawgmoth, which we know there's a Yawgmoth in hand, this seems fine. Slight variations here, right? Just understanding sequencing and when to do this. Like, next turn, we could have seen, all right, if he plays Wall of Roots this turn, he plays Yawgmoth next turn, and then has a Court of Calling to tutor up and win. Or, because Court of Calling is an instant speed, all right, you don't have to worry about doing it on your turn at sorcery speed. You can just sit here, play Wall of Roots, have my Young Wolves, and just pass and see what happens. So, that is definitely I can respond to you now and cord something up here. But the reason he decided to do it on his turn is to kind of let his defenses go down, because now we're going to start seeing a different response here. Add, generating green mana, tapping this for a black, and now we'll be playing one of the kind of other powerful Lord of the Ring cards that we're seeing all over Modern. It's Orcish Bowmasters. You're probably seeing it on Arena if you're playing Arena. You're probably seeing it on all kinds of areas, like Modern, Legacy, Commander. It's everywhere, right? So this is, of course, great response to, hey, you're going to tap to activate this to draw some cards. Well, I'm going to respond, and now I've got a Orcish Bowmaster there. Shout out to Infinite Tokens for having their tokens so players can draw their orcs and what other good tokens that they might have there. So big fan of that there. All right. And so he's digging. He's like, I don't care if you have the Bowmaster. I need to attempt to get Tron online again, because I've got 2 towers, 2 power plants, a forest. I need to get a mine or a way to be able to, respond to what you're doing. So we're going to see what sort of response might end up coming from this. All right, Sylvan's scrying here, so we are going to find the missing mine to get things back online, which is huge, because that opens up the avenue to, a potential Oblivion Stone, being able to just blow up the board. It brings up the potential for Spirit Dragon. I run a 1 of All Is Dust in my list, so just different avenues are now available. So we'll see what's the path forward for our Tron player. So yeah, a lot of big threats now available.
Well, it made it harder to get to the card that I needed in my hand.
Oh, so okay, you heard that as like, hey, why did you pop that to take some damage? Oh, Ulamog, nice. Okay, so here we're getting to the top end of things. All right, Ulamog's Ceaseless Hunger has a cast trigger, so even if you counter it, you're still going to have to run into this cast trigger where he gets to exile 2 permanents. That could be lands, it could be creatures, it could be planeswalkers, enchantments, artifacts. Doesn't matter, it can get exiled here. So the obvious choices are Blood Artist, Orcish Bowmasters. You could risk a Young Wolf here, but you could. It's like Blood Artist is the safest, and like Orcish Bowmasters messes with him wanting to keep getting card advantage and drawing more cards here. I don't know what else is in his hand. If he's got another Warping Whale or something like that to get rid of a young wolf, then you don't have to worry as much. Or get rid of a Orcish Bowmasters. Like, that can all help determine your next plays too. But it's going to be interesting to see. You can see him pulling the Blood Artist forward. That makes a lot of sense, right? Because if next turn he just untaps and plays the Yawgmoth, he dies to the Blood Artist triggers. But this is that difference of a player courting on his turn versus opposite, right? Playing the Bowmaster there is good. You play the Bowmaster, awesome, but I don't know. I think it's like Ulamog comes, cool. In response, I can chord off the cast trigger. Like, who are you targeting? All right. Triggers on the stack. You've targeted these two permanents. I'll respond and go do that. So yeah, here we go. Untap. So now there's a big threat staring you down, right? You're at 7 life. There's an Ulamog out. Yes, you could be able to start generating more stuff. So another Wall of Roots. 4 mana available to play Yawgmoth again. Boom, boom, boom. Adding green mana. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's see. Is it the Yawgmoth? Oh, Sheldred. Ooh, so basically just redundancy, and I'm hoping to survive this attack and hoping to stop you from being able to draw a bunch of cards, and just like death of 1,000 cuts, right? You've got the one ring. I'm hoping to get you. So like boom, boom, boom. There's 3 counters on the one ring. Of course, Tron player is going to draw 1 card. There's 2 more damage. So that's 5 damage this turn just from Sheldred. So basically just like I've got a clock on you now. What are you going to do about this? All right, and there we see tapping out. All right, so we've got this little, so you see Tron players tapping out like, oh, I want to play my second Ulamog so I can get some like triggers, the cast trigger, exile stuff, but it's legendary, so you can't, right? So now we're going to be seeing, all right, I'll attack first, and then I will, replay a second one, get rid of some stuff, and keep myself alive. On the attack trigger, which is going to exile 20 cards from the Yawgmoth player's library, we're going to see Besager get used, get rid of the mine again, so now he's left without the mana to be able to cast an Ulamog for the second time. So this is another little mistake that I'm noticing here, but I think it's because we got caught up in some of the other stuff here. Is the Tron player is allowed to go look for a basic land when Besager destroys something. So that would help him with his mana. He'd be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana there, giving him a little bit more flexibility this turn. But Quarter Calling is going to get used. So let's see what we end up tutoring up for. I think this is another one where, understanding the deck and understanding what to tutor for is a big part of it. Like, so we're going to see some adjustments from the player as they kind of tap out different things and kind of go through and be like, oh, wait a minute, I actually, should be tapping for, more mana. Like, to be honest, if you are able to tap for 4 mana, you probably should. So I think he's tapping for 3 here, but he ends up correcting it and tapping the Young Wolf to get 4 because, you get Yawgmoth here. It allows you to kind of dig for some more answers. It lets you reset your Young Wolves. So they're still talking. It's like, you still have to block this. It's 10 power coming your way that you still have to deal with in addition to the attack trigger. And so that means it's like you have to sit here and count how many cards are in your library, look through your library for what is a potential out for you, and know, okay, if I'm tutoring up now, it allows me to pick the best card in my deck that costs 4 or less, right? He picked 3, but he's going to adjust it to 4 because 4 is the highest cost in the Yawgmoth list at this point. So this is where, I kind of reach over and be like, hey, it's probably better if you go for 4, get Yawgmoth. You can start sacrificing. Yes, you can lose life, but you're trying to set yourself up to win next turn, to survive this Ulamog attack the best you can. So that we see a little adjustment to the pick and picks Yawgmoth. So now we're going to see how things work out. And how his response is going to be, how many times is he going to draw, because you're going to have to exile 20 cards. So
Well, it's a combo deck. You're just a good combo deck player. What's up, beautiful? Thanks, you.
all right,
40% more. 40% thought? How do you calculate it? You bad nuts.
all right. So the tech trigger is going to go off. I want to say we were counting it out, and I think it's like he could draw, you know, a few more times here to help him out before he's really in trouble. So yeah, you're going to see him manipulate. Boom, boom, boom. We'll start drawing into some cards and seeing if we can get something here. All right, so when the Undying happens, the creatures will enter untapped, so he will have at least a blocker available to him to block the Ulamog, because the Ulamog does not have trample, even though, you know, it basically, the Tron player set up, hey, you have a 2-turn clock. All right, whether you block this or not is irrelevant to me milling you for 20 and exiling 20 cards. Sheldred's helping him out. You see his life is going up here because every time he's drawing a card, he gains a life again. Normally it would be 2. Yawgmoth, of course, causing you to lose 1, so it's like they counteract each other. You're always netting 1 here.
Any other responses?
Now the question is, how much is the Tron player gonna try to commit to finding a mine? I don't know if he's got, like, him getting a forest here would probably make his life easier. Again, we talked about having 6 mana as opposed to 5, so it throws a young wolf in the way.
That's why I was asking, do you have any other? Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay, so now we're doing the attack trigger, exiling all those cards.
I might not know the deck, guys, but I know the order of the trigger.
He says, I don't know the deck, but I know the order in which these triggers are supposed to go. All right, we're losing a lot of stuff, like some Orcish Bowmasters are getting lost in there, Chords of Calling, things like that. So now we go to blockers. Boom, declare blockers. He's going to come back with a +1 counter on it.
Now can I go? Green for
Ancient Stirrings. All right, top 5. He's hoping to hit a Tron land, and specifically the mine that he's missing.
What was gonna happen is I was gonna play another Ulamog, get rid of that, and then draw 4 cards, and then replace it with another one.
So he has a 1 ring. He's basically
No, but that's still.
has that potential that he could replace it, or maybe a 1 ring is in the top 5 of Ancient Stirrings.
Would have been okay. That's still 4 damage. Well, I haven't played a land. If one of these.
Okay. Oh, so this is the Ancient Stirrings. So he could get Relic, All His Dust, Tower, and Power Plant. So if one of those is mined, I guess he's explaining how he could be resetting it. So he could set himself, if he does have the 1 ring in his hand right now, he's going to get All His Dust. I guess that shuffle of him finding a forest would have had a different top 5 than that, and maybe more likely to have gotten what he needed. 4 mana left. Is he digging for it then to try to hit All His Dust? I don't think that's worth it to activate the 1 ring at this point. But you could play the 1 ring if he has a new one, replace it.
I have one last desperate play.
Okay, one last desperate play.
If this card right here is a mine, then I can wipe the board.
Okay, so he's going all in. He says, if this last card here is a mine, I can cast All His Dust and wipe your board. Okay, sphere. Pop the sphere. Make a green. Loses 2, draws a card. Another tower. And I always like that he could have all his dust. Yep. Yep. But he's going to kill himself with his own his one ring. All right. So, yeah, little things like if he had gotten another one ring or something, he could have delayed it and drawn it out and tried to buy an extra turn by having protection, you know, or the Oblivion Stone would have been good. But yeah, so him getting that other force, I don't know how much it would have impacted. I mean, you would have had a different top 5 for the Ancient Stirrings, but that's it, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We're gonna do more of this stuff coming up, so stay tuned. If you like the content, hit the subscribe, hit the follows, all that kind of good stuff. We're gonna do some more teaching moments with Modern, as well as we lead our way into players that know their decks a lot better, a little bit more streamlined versions of that. So thanks for tuning in and watching, and I'll see you guys next game.